Hello, folks. Tara here with a Wifey Wake Up podcast, getting in the swing of things here. And let's talk about, I'm going to share with you how I learned over years, it's taken years to understand that homemaking is a vocation. And I have a kind of a tagline that it's not a vacation, as I think, as I see on social media, so many women are kind of beat down these days, particularly by men, about thinking that homemaking is a vacation, but it certainly is not when you take it seriously. So, a little background. First of all, uh, I think homemaking is definitely a vocation. So, what is a vocation or what is it not? A vocation is not a job. It's not something that you just clock into and work a few hours and then just clock out and let the cares go away. It is not a career in the sense that you're just pursuing the next step, the next level, and so forth, and really going for those accomplishments. It perhaps could be, it's different then, but vocation is its own thing. Vocation is something that you might even use the word a calling. It might even be something that you're called to do or be. And that was certainly the case for me. I would say from a very young age, I knew that I wanted to be married. I really loved, for example, I mentioned this before, I loved watching Little House on the Prairie. And so my idea of family and husband in particular, and how a family and mom and pa interacted were mom and pa Ingalls on Little House on the Prairie. And that kind of built in my imagination just how a husband and a wife operate. And that was something that I saw for myself. Now, like many women my age, I was really brought up that, forget about vocation, kind of forget about what you're being called to do in here and focus on your education. Yeah. If you feel like an inkling, if you feel drawn to study something out there, go with that calling. But if it's like a deep desire calling, is particularly if it's to the home, to another human being that you say you love and you love forever, ignore that. Okay? Anyone else out there, women my age and younger and older, raise your hand if you identify. And so I was instructed, focus on this, focus on your career. And then, maybe if when, the whole family thing and husband thing happen, that will fall into place, sort of thing. But I'm so glad that I allowed myself to not just focus, but really, it was days literally before my 19th birthday that I got married to my husband, who I've been married to over 20 years now. And despite being a very studious person, someone who really loved and valued school, that I still listened to that inner calling, that inner desire, and thank God I was guided to a really wonderful man. Because that's an age, right, where we can really step into some deep pits. And I didn't realize, however, that calling, I didn't have the training. So this is where we can go back to even vocation is more than a job. It's more than a career, but it still has similarities in the sense that you can be called to do something. You can have something that just draws you in so much, but still not really know about it. And so it was something I was drawn to. And a partial analogy is that, well, I'm not going to go there yet. So I was really privileged for about the first 10 or so years of our marriage, longer than that I was able to be a homemaker. I had a few part-time jobs here and there to fill in, doing a few things, but nothing that really required much, let's just say. I could just show up. It was a job. And I enjoyed homemaking, but I didn't really understand the value of it. And I got restless, is what I would say. I was restless because my idea of what I wanted for family was not happening in time and was not happening in the way that I wanted to. What I had envisioned as our lifestyle was not happening in time and to the level that I wanted or envisioned. And I became restless because the family that I had envisioned was not happy. I became even more restless, feeling that I didn't have enough of a purpose in life as well. Not seeing that how I can be a support within my own family structure for my husband in particular, extended family, or even doing volunteer type work, and trusting that that is enough, that I don't have to have a career outside of the home. I did not see that what I could do within the home and my surrounding community as being valuable. And that's what I would say would be the difference of vocation. Now, while I desired that, right? I did have a calling to be a homemaker, to be a wife. I did not have, I would say, the sound examples of how to do that. And so, like if we're equating this, maybe there's a job aspect to this. I didn't have the training. And when you don't have the training, you really don't know how to operate. And as a part of that, I started to really take for granted what I did have available to me, the opportunities, the time, and where I could seek fulfillment and be fulfilled in that current role. Now, I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. And what I did turn to doing was create an online business. And I do operate an online health and wellness education company. And it's really been a blessing in a lot of ways. But I can tell you the shifting point that happened for me was in the early 2020s when we all experienced the COVID era, correct? And our business was really booming. We already had an established platform, and a lot of people were interested in how to take care of their health, particularly by natural means. And so business was really booming. And this was before I had hired any staff, and it was all on me. And I was working 10, 12-hour days. And when I wasn't working, I was still thinking about the business and just very, very tired. And I remember the point where I thought, the literal thought of, oh, I wish I had someone that could just like make the food and like clean my house and just like hang out with me and just be like, and just, doesn't have to hear about how rough my day was, but just kind of be like, oh, we can take a breath together, or maybe let's go see a movie. Or now, granted, my husband's wonderful. He can cook food. He helped take care of us during that time as well. He's not a slouch by any means, but there is a certain role. There's a certain nurturing that I was looking for. And in that moment, or maybe the moment after, when I realized what I was thinking, I thought to myself, and I kind of laughed to myself, oh, that's the value in a homemaker. That's the value in a wife that I had overlooked for so many years, and thought that I would find greater value, a sense of purpose, a sense of greater purpose in other things. And granted, I'm very grateful that I have done what I have and created what I've created. And it's all a part of this, I think, master plan to help me to come back around and appreciate. And some days I do think to myself, oh, if I could just spend all day reading and studying and planning what to make for dinner, and then making dinner and doing some cleanup, and that sounds heavenly. And the days that I get to do that are heavenly. And so I just wanted to really convey that, because I know I'm not the only one, especially growing up in my generation, where we're taught to seek the career, seek the education. And many of us did not have the example of a mom who was a wife and a homemaker and actually enjoyed it. I'm very fortunate that my mother-in-law is and was one of those types, and I could glean from her. But at the same time, there were times where now I absolutely love and absolutely appreciate my mother-in-law, but there are these times when we can't really accept, like we are trained a different way, that I notice myself kind of repelling that way of being. If she was like, kind of sharing a homemaking tidbit or something, I kind of feel a little turned off. And it wasn't her. I realize now that it was me. It was me because I was really trained that way, trained in a sense to be repulsed by being that nurturing woman, even though deep down it's also who I wanted to be. It's such a strange conundrum. So I want to share that with you women in particular who may be feeling that kind of conundrum also, but haven't quite put your thumb on it. I would love to hear from you. Please chime in the chat. Let me know where you're at. Maybe you are the homemaker, but aren't quite identifying with it and aren't feeling like you can get the most of it. Maybe you feel bored. Maybe you are working and you feel exhausted, but also feel like you can't really tap into that homemaking wifely role when you get home. And let's open up the conversation. And hopefully, my objective is just to formulate an appreciation for this role again among men and among women. Okay? Would love to hear from you. Take care, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.